Commander Zexthul of the Galactic Survey Fleet had seen many worlds in his 300 cycles of service. Dead rocks floating in space, gas giants with no solid ground, and planets covered in poisonous oceans were common sights. But nothing had prepared him for what his long-range scanners were showing him now. The third planet from a yellow star in a remote spiral arm was impossible. Every reading his instruments gave him defied the known laws of planetary science. His 6 eyes focused on the data streaming across his console, each one wider than the last. "Navigation Officer Krill, run a full diagnostic on our sensor array," Zexthul commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had mapped more star systems than most beings could count. "Already completed, Commander. All systems are functioning perfectly," came the reply from his subordinate, a being whose species was known throughout the galaxy for their precision with technology. Zexthul stared at the impossible readings again. The planet's atmosphere contained 21% oxygen, a highly reactive gas that should have burned away any organic compounds billions of cycles ago. Yet the surface teemed with life. Not just simple bacteria or basic plant life, but complex ecosystems that his scanners detected across every continent. "Sir, the gravity readings are equally strange," reported Science Officer Thane from her station. "The planet's mass suggests gravity should be crushing any surface life, yet we're detecting what appears to be large mobile organisms." The commander moved to the main viewing screen and enhanced the image. What he saw made his breathing stop for a moment. Vast blue oceans covered most of the surface, but the land masses showed something unprecedented. Green vegetation covered enormous areas, creating complex patterns that suggested not random growth, but organized cultivation. "Are we seeing signs of intelligence down there?" he asked quietly. "Sir, the electromagnetic signatures are off every known scale," Thane replied, her voice trembling with excitement. "There are artificial energy sources everywhere, geometric structures that are clearly not natural formations, and the radio emissions—" She paused, checking her instruments 3 times before continuing. "Commander, this planet is broadcasting radio signals across dozens of frequencies simultaneously. The mathematical complexity suggests not just intelligence, but advanced technological civilization." Zexthul felt his world shift beneath his feet. In all the cycles the Galactic Council had been exploring space, they had found exactly 17 intelligent species. Each one had been discovered only after they achieved faster-than-light travel and announced themselves to the galaxy. The idea that an advanced civilization could exist without the Council's knowledge was unthinkable. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "Our long-range surveys have mapped this entire sector. This system was classified as containing no habitable worlds." "Sir, I've been analyzing our historical data," Officer Krill interrupted. "This system was surveyed 800 cycles ago. The report indicates the third planet was covered in ice and showed no signs of life." 800 cycles? Zexthul's mind raced. "That's impossible. Planetary evolution doesn't work that fast. It takes millions of cycles for complex life to develop, let alone technological civilization." But the evidence was right there in front of them. The planet below was not only alive, but thriving with what appeared to be an incredibly advanced society. His instruments detected massive structures, transportation networks that spanned continents, and energy outputs that rivaled some council worlds. "Sir, incoming transmission from the surface," Communications Officer Vell announced suddenly. Every being on the bridge froze. A transmission from the surface meant they had been detected, which should have been impossible. Their survey ship used the most advanced stealth technology in the galaxy. "Put it through," Zexthul ordered, despite his confusion. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a being unlike anything in the galactic database. It stood upright on 2 legs, had only two eyes positioned at the front of its head, and was covered in artificial materials rather than natural fur, scales, or chitin. "Greetings," the being said in perfectly clear Standard Galactic. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Monitoring Station. We've been tracking your vessel since you entered our solar system. Welcome to Earth." The bridge fell into stunned silence. Not only had this species detected them through their stealth systems, but they were speaking Standard Galactic, a language that had never been broadcast to this region of space. "How do you know our language?" Zexthul managed to ask. Dr. Chen smiled, an expression that somehow seemed both friendly and unsettling. "We've been listening to galactic communications for quite some time now. We're very good at learning new languages quickly. We've actually been wondering when you'd finally notice us." "Finally notice you?" Zexthul repeated. "Our records show this planet was lifeless 800 cycles ago." 800 of your cycles would be about 4,000 of our years, Dr. Chen replied casually. "Yes, we've accomplished quite a bit in that time. We went from discovering fire to exploring our solar system in just 10,000 years. The last 4,000 have been particularly productive." The science officer's instruments began beeping frantically. "Commander, the planet's electromagnetic signature just changed. They've activated some kind of planetary defense grid." On the screen, Dr. Chen nodded. "Please don't be alarmed. We're not threatening you, but we've learned to be cautious with unexpected visitors. Your ship is currently being scanned by our systems. Very impressive technology, by the way. Your stealth capabilities are quite advanced." "Our stealth capabilities?" Zexthul was beginning to feel like everything he thought he knew about the universe was wrong. "You detected us through Council stealth technology." "Well, yes. We detected the gravitational distortion from your faster-than-light drive about 6 hours ago when you dropped out of hyperspace. Your ship creates a very distinctive pattern of space-time ripples. We've been tracking vessels using similar technology for decades." The communications officer leaned toward Zexthul. "Sir, she's implying they've been monitoring galactic traffic without our knowledge." Dr. Chen apparently had excellent hearing despite the distance between them. "Not just monitoring. We've been quite active in galactic affairs, actually. We just prefer to work quietly. The Council has very specific ideas about how civilizations should develop, and we've found it easier to avoid that bureaucracy." "Galactic affairs?" Zexthul's voice was getting higher with each impossible revelation. "What galactic affairs?" "Well, for example, the Klexon trade dispute 3 cycles ago. That was getting quite heated until someone anonymously provided evidence that the VREX consortium was manipulating prices, or the Thalian border conflict that ended when mysterious technical failures disabled the weapon systems on both fleets simultaneously. Every officer on the bridge was now staring at the screen. These were major galactic events that had shaped recent Council policy. The idea that this unknown species had been involved was staggering. "You're saying your people have been interfering in galactic politics?" Zexthul asked. "Not interfering," Dr. Chen corrected gently. "Helping. We prefer peaceful solutions to conflicts. When we see situations escalating unnecessarily, sometimes we provide subtle assistance to help cooler heads prevail." "But how? Your technology is apparently more advanced than your scanners initially indicated," she finished. "Commander Zexthul, isn't it? Your service record is quite impressive, by the way. 47 successful first contact missions." The fact that she knew his name and service record sent chills through his entire crew. This suggested access to Council databases that should have been impossible. "I think it's time we had a proper conversation," Dr. Chen continued. "Would you like to come down to the surface? I believe there are a few things about humans you might find interesting." Zexthul looked around his bridge at his crew. Every face showed the same expression of shock and curiosity. They had come to this system expecting to catalog another dead world. Instead, they had discovered a species that apparently had technology matching or exceeding the most advanced Council worlds, had been secretly involved in galactic affairs for decades, and had evolved from primitive to advanced in a time span that should have been impossible. "Dr. Chen," he said finally, "I believe my government is going to want to speak with yours very soon." "Oh, they already have been," she replied with that strange smile again. "We've been in discreet communication with several council members for quite some time. You'll probably be receiving new orders within the hour authorizing formal first contact." As if summoned by her words, the communications console chimed with an incoming priority message from Council Command. Zex Thul stared at it, then back at the screen where Dr. Chen waited patiently. "One more question," he said. "In all our surveys, all our observations, how did we miss a civilization this advanced for so long?" Dr. Chen's smile widened. "Commander, you've been looking for species that follow your model of development. We humans have always done things differently. We tend to surprise people." As Zexthul reached for the incoming message from his superiors, he realized that his life's work of cataloging the galaxy had just become infinitely more complicated, and somehow, despite all the impossibilities he'd just witnessed, he found himself looking forward to learning more about these extraordinary beings called humans. 3 days after Commander Zexthul's discovery, every major news network in the galaxy was broadcasting the same impossible story. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called to order, with representatives from all 43 member species gathered in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime. Ambassador Veltar of the Arconian Empire stood at the central podium, his scaled hands trembling as he read from the official report. As one of the oldest and most respected species in the Council, his words carried immense weight. "Fellow beings," he began, his voice echoing through the vast chamber, "we are gathered today to discuss a discovery that challenges everything we thought we knew about galactic civilization." The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations in dozens of languages. Everyone had heard rumors, but few believed them. 3 standard days ago, Survey Fleet Commander Zexthal detected an advanced technological civilization on a planet designated as lifeless in our records. This species, calling themselves humans, has not only achieved technological parity with Council worlds, but has been secretly observing and influencing galactic affairs for decades. The buzz grew louder. Several ambassadors stood to voice objections, but Veltar raised his hand for silence. "Before you dismiss this as impossible, consider the evidence. The human representative, Dr. Sarah Chen, provided us with detailed records of their interventions in 17 major conflicts over the past 50 cycles. Each intervention prevented significant loss of life and promoted peaceful resolution." Ambassador Korax of the militant hegemony slammed his fist on his delegation's table. "Impossible! No species develops that quickly. Our own evolution took 12 million cycles." "Yet here we stand with proof," Veltar replied calmly. He activated the chamber's main display, showing images of Earth from orbit. "Observe the planet below. In 800 cycles, it has transformed from an ice-covered wasteland to this." The images showed sprawling cities connected by transport networks, massive orbital installations, and what appeared to be terraforming operations on neighboring planets. Even more shocking were the readings showing energy signatures that rivaled the Council's most advanced worlds. "How did they accomplish this?" asked Ambassador Thys of the Scientific Collective, her voice filled with professional curiosity. "That, honored colleague, is what makes this discovery so remarkable," Veltar continued. "According to Dr. Chen, humans possess what they call adaptive intelligence. They don't just solve problems, they completely reimagine the parameters of the problem itself." The display changed to show human historical records that had been shared with the Council. Images of primitive humans discovering fire were followed by scenes of agricultural development, then industrial revolution, then spaceflight, all compressed into what the galactic community considered an impossibly short time frame. Observe their technological development pattern, Veltar explained. Most species, including our own, follow predictable advancement curves. We develop one technology, master it over thousands of cycles, then slowly progress to the next level. Humans appear to develop multiple technologies simultaneously and then combine them in unexpected ways. The display showed human innovations, flight achieved not through evolutionary development, but by studying birds and building mechanical copies, space travel accomplished by strapping controlled explosions to metal cylinders and global communication networks that bypassed traditional infrastructure entirely. But this still doesn't explain their current capabilities, protested Ambassador Zix of the Commercial Federation. Our intelligence suggests they have faster-than-light communication, advanced medical technology, and defensive systems that can disable our most sophisticated weapons. Dr. Chen's image appeared on the main screen, broadcasting live from Earth. She had requested permission to address the Council directly, a request that had sparked 3 hours of debate before being approved. Honored members of the Galactic Council, she began, I understand your confusion. Let me share something about human nature that might help explain our rapid development. She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. We are, by galactic standards, a very young species, but we have one characteristic that appears to be unusual. We never accept that something is impossible. When faced with a problem that seems unsolvable, we don't wait for natural evolution to provide an answer. We create the answer ourselves. The chamber fell silent as she continued. For example, our ancestors couldn't fly, so we invented flying machines. We couldn't breathe underwater, so we created submarines. We couldn't survive in space, so we built spacesuits and spacecraft. Each challenge became an opportunity for innovation rather than a limitation to accept. But how did you develop such advanced technology without our knowledge? Ambassador Veltar asked. We've been learning from you, Dr. Chen replied simply. For the past 200 years, we've been intercepting and analyzing galactic communications. We've studied your technologies, your sciences, your cultures, and your conflicts. Then we've taken those ideas and improved on them. The implications of her statement sent shockwaves through the chamber. Several ambassadors began speaking at once, their voices rising in alarm. You're saying you've been spying on us? Ambassador Orcs demanded. We prefer to think of it as learning, Dr. Chen replied calmly. And in return, we've helped when we could. The medical breakthrough that ended the Zephyrian plague, that was based on research shared anonymously by human scientists. The new energy efficiency protocols that reduced resource conflicts by 40%. Human engineering. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions and accusations, while others demanded proof. Through it all, Dr. Chen waited patiently for order to be restored. When silence finally returned, she continued. We understand your shock, but consider this. In 200 years of observing galactic civilization, we've never once used our capabilities for conquest or exploitation. Every intervention has been to prevent suffering or promote peaceful solutions. Why? Asked Ambassador Thys quietly. Why help us while remaining hidden? Dr. Chen's expression grew thoughtful. Because we've studied galactic history. We've seen what happens when advanced species reveal themselves too quickly. The disruption to existing civilizations, the conflicts over technology sharing, the power imbalances that result. We chose a different path. And what path is that? Veltar inquired. Gradual integration. We've been slowly introducing our innovations through indirect channels, allowing galactic civilization to adapt naturally. Our goal has never been to dominate, but to contribute. The display changed to show a timeline of human interventions. Each one had been subtle, providing just enough assistance to prevent disaster without revealing the source. The pattern was clear. Humans had been acting as silent guardians of galactic peace for decades. But now that you've been discovered, what are your intentions? Ambassador Zix asked. The same as they've always been, Dr. Chen replied. We'd like to join the galactic community as equals, contributing our knowledge and capabilities for the benefit of all species. As equals? Ambassador Korex's voice was filled with skepticism. Your technology appears superior to ours in many areas. Technology isn't everything, Dr. Chen responded. We have much to learn from all of you. Your species have mastered arts of philosophy, culture, and science that we're just beginning to understand. We see this as an opportunity for mutual growth. The chamber fell quiet as the implications sank in. Here was a species that had developed advanced technology in an impossibly short time, had been secretly helping galactic civilization for decades, and was now offering to share their knowledge freely. There's something else you should know, Dr. Chen said, breaking the silence. We're not the only ones. The collective intake of breath from the chamber was audible. What do you mean? Veltar asked. We've been in contact with 3 other species that, like us, developed rapidly and chose to remain hidden. They've been watching too, helping where they could. The galaxy is much more populated with intelligent life than your surveys have indicated. The revelation hit the chamber like a physical force. Everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe was crumbling. How many? Ambassador Thys whispered. We estimate at least 12 species with technology comparable to or exceeding council levels. Some have been hidden for thousands of cycles, others for just a few centuries. All of them have been working quietly to maintain galactic stability. Ambassador Veltar sank into his chair, overwhelmed by the implications. The Galactic Council, which had seen itself as the pinnacle of civilization, had been operating under the protection of species they didn't even know existed. Why reveal this now? He asked. Dr. Chen smiled, that same unsettling expression that had confused Commander Zexthul. Because it's time. The galaxy is entering a new phase of development, and hidden civilizations can't effectively help if they remain hidden. We believe it's time for true galactic unity, not just among the known species, but among all the children of the stars. The session was adjourned in chaos, with delegates rushing to contact their home worlds with news that would reshape galactic politics forever. But as the chamber emptied, many found themselves feeling something unexpected: hope. If species like humanity had been watching over them, perhaps the universe was a safer place than they had imagined. Dr. Chen's image remained on the screen long after the last delegate had left, watching the empty chamber with those forward-facing eyes that seemed to see possibilities others missed. 6 months had passed since the revelation that changed everything. Commander Zexthul stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Station, a joint project between the Galactic Council and the Hidden Alliance, the collective name for the previously unknown civilizations that had revealed themselves following humanity's disclosure. The station itself was a marvel that would have been impossible before. Human engineering had solved construction challenges that had puzzled council scientists for centuries, while ethereal energy systems provided power efficiency beyond anything previously imagined. The Shadowkin had contributed material science that made the entire structure virtually indestructible, and the newly revealed architects had designed spaces that somehow felt comfortable to beings from 47 different species. Amazing, isn't it? Dr. Sarah Chen joined him at the viewing port, looking out at the bustling activity around the station. Ships from dozens of species docked and departed constantly, creating the most diverse gathering in galactic history. 6 months ago, I thought I understood the galaxy, Zexthul replied, his voice filled with wonder rather than bitterness. Now I realize we were like children playing in a sandbox, unaware that adults were watching over us. Not adults, Chen corrected gently. Just different children with different toys. We've all been learning from each other. Through the viewing port, they could see the impossible sight of a Klexon trade vessel docked next to a human exploration ship, while engineers from both species worked together on some joint project. A year ago, the Klexon had been among the most isolationist species in the Council. Now they were eagerly collaborating with beings they'd never known existed. The medical exchange program has exceeded all projections, Chen continued. Combining human adaptive techniques with healer genetics and synthesis technology has already eliminated 17 previously incurable diseases. Zexthul nodded, remembering the reports that crossed his desk daily. The fusion of knowledge from the Hidden Alliance with Council science was producing breakthroughs at an unprecedented pace. Faster-than-light communication that had taken the Council 3,000 cycles to develop had been improved by human innovation and ethereal understanding in just 6 months. And the cultural exchange? He asked. Even more remarkable. Human music combined with Lyrian emotional resonance has created art forms that literally move beings to tears of joy. The philosophical discussions between the thinkers and human academics have produced new frameworks for understanding consciousness itself. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Several Council species had struggled to accept that their understanding of galactic civilization had been so limited. The militant hegemony had initially demanded proof that the Hidden Alliance posed no threat, leading to demonstrations of defensive capabilities that had left everyone stunned. What convinced Ambassador Orcs? Zexthul asked, thinking of the hegemony's most vocal skeptic. Chen smiled. Humans have a saying, actions speak louder than words. When the Vex launched their expansion campaign toward hegemony space, our response demonstrated our intentions pretty clearly. Zexthul remembered that day. The Vex, an aggressive species from outside Council space, had appeared with a massive fleet intent on conquest. Before the Council could even mount a response, the entire Vex armada had simply stopped working. Every ship, every weapon, every communication system, all simultaneously disabled by what appeared to be a computer virus of impossible sophistication. The Shadowkin network infiltration was impressive, Zexthul admitted. Actually, that was a joint operation. Shadowkin provided the infiltration capability, humans designed the virus, and the architects created a transmission method that could affect their entire fleet simultaneously. The beauty was that no one was harmed. Their ships still had life support and basic systems. They just couldn't fight anymore. The message had been clear. The Hidden Alliance could disable any threat without resorting to violence. Within hours, the Vex had agreed to peaceful negotiations. How many more are there? Zexthul asked the question that had been haunting galactic leadership for months. Species with our level of capability. We've identified 43 confirmed civilizations, but we estimate there could be hundreds of others at various stages of development that we simply haven't encountered yet. The number was staggering. The known galaxy had suddenly expanded from 43 Council species to potentially hundreds of advanced civilizations, most of which had been developing in secret for millennia. Why did they all choose to remain hidden? Different reasons. Some, like the Dreamers, exist partially outside normal space-time and didn't think we'd be able to communicate effectively. Others, like the Builders, were so focused on massive construction projects that they simply didn't notice galactic civilization until recently. The Gardeners have been quietly terraforming dead worlds for thousands of cycles, creating habitable planets for future expansion. A chime sounded, indicating that the afternoon's demonstration was about to begin. They moved to the station's main amphitheater, where beings from across the galaxy had gathered to witness something unprecedented. On the stage, a human engineer named Marcus Rodriguez stood next to Veltar, the Arconian ambassador, who had become one of the strongest advocates for integration. Behind them, a holographic display showed what appeared to be empty space. 6 months ago, Rodriguez began, humanity shared our faster-than-light travel technology with our new galactic partners. Today, we'd like to show you what we've accomplished together. The display activated, revealing a massive structure in the empty space, a ring-like construct that seemed to stretch beyond the edges of the hologram. "This is the first Nexus Gate," Veltar announced, his voice filled with pride. "A collaboration between 12 different species that will revolutionize galactic transportation." The audience watched in amazement as the display showed the gate's function. Ships could enter one side and emerge instantly at any other gate in the network, regardless of distance. Travel that previously took weeks could now be accomplished in minutes. "But that's not the most remarkable part," Rodriguez continued. "The gates don't just transport matter, they can transmit information, energy, and even consciousness itself. We're creating a network that will allow real-time communication and collaboration across the entire galaxy." The implications were staggering. With instant transportation and communication, the barriers that had kept galactic civilization fragmented would disappear entirely. "The first network will connect 50 systems," Veltar added, "but the design is infinitely expandable. Eventually, every inhabited world could be just minutes away from every other world." After the demonstration, Zexathul found himself in one of Unity Station's recreation areas, another impossible fusion of technologies that created environments comfortable for beings with wildly different physiological needs. He was joined by Dr. Chen and several other representatives from both Council and Alliance species. "I have to ask," said Ambassador Theiss, settling into a chair that somehow accommodated her entirely different anatomy, "why reveal yourselves now? You could have remained hidden indefinitely." Dr. Chen exchanged glances with her Alliance colleagues before responding. "Because hiding was becoming counterproductive. The galaxy is approaching several critical transition points, and we realized that secretive assistance wouldn't be enough." "What kind of transition points?" Zexthul asked. "Climate challenges on 17 worlds that require immediate terraforming intervention. 3 species approaching technological singularities that need guidance to avoid self-destruction. And something much bigger." The recreation area fell quiet. "We've detected signs of civilization from outside our galaxy. Not just 1 or 2 species, but what appears to be a massive intergalactic community. They're still thousands of cycles away, but eventually, they're going to reach us." The silence that followed was profound. Just as they were adjusting to the idea that their galaxy contained hundreds of advanced species, they were learning that the universe beyond was also populated. "Are they hostile?" Ambassador Corex asked, his military instincts engaged. "Unknown," replied one of the ethereal representatives in their melodious mental voice. "But if they are, a divided galaxy would be helpless against unified intergalactic civilization. We need to be ready." "And if they're peaceful?" Theiss inquired. "Then we need to be ready for that too," Chen said with a smile. "Imagine the knowledge exchange, the cultural fusion, the scientific breakthroughs. Either way, the galaxy needs to be united." As the discussion continued, Zexthul found himself looking around the room at the incredible diversity of beings working together. 6 months ago, such a gathering would have been impossible. Now it seemed natural. Later, as he returned to his quarters, Zexthul paused at his personal terminal to record his daily log. "Commander's log, Day 184 post-contact. The integration of hidden Alliance species continues to exceed all projections. Medical advances, technological breakthroughs, and cultural exchanges are transforming galactic civilization at an unprecedented rate." He paused, considering his words carefully. 6 months ago, I believed I was exploring an empty galaxy, cataloging dead worlds and rare pockets of life. Today, I realize I was always surrounded by wonders I simply wasn't looking for. Humanity taught us something profound. Intelligence takes many forms, and the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than we ever imagined. He looked out his window at the bustling activity around Unity Station. Ships from species that had been myths just months ago, working alongside familiar council vessels. If the humans are right about intergalactic contact, then our greatest adventures are still ahead of us. But for the first time in galactic history, we'll face them together, not as separate species struggling to understand the universe alone, but as a true community of minds exploring the infinite together. As he finished his log, Zexthul reflected on Dr. Chen's words about humans never accepting that something was impossible. Looking at what they'd all accomplished together in just 6 months, he was beginning to understand what she meant. The galaxy had always been full of impossible things. They just needed to learn how to see them.